Over 1 million teachers use iExcel in their classrooms every day for one reason. They love it. Why? iExcel is where the magic happens. With just one platform, teachers can personalize learning for every student. iExcel gives teachers all the tools they need to enhance and differentiate instruction without adding work to their plates. Plus, iExcel has decades of expertise and has proven to be effective. Studies on more than 70,000 schools across nearly 50 states show that those who use iExcel outperform others on state tests. Ready to bring the magic to your school? Visit iexcel.com/PM to learn more.
You're listening to Monday Matters, a Principal Matters podcast production.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another Monday Matters. Jen, this one is coming out in June. What? What happened? How did we get to June so quickly? And there's probably people not listening because they're on summer break and they're like, I'm just not podcast listening. And there's probably other people that are still like 1 month of school left, but they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. How are you doing? And do you have any summer plans?
Well, I'm in the graduation party season right now. Lots of graduation parties, lots of checks written for $20.26. It's so good to go and wish these seniors well. So that's really what's happening here. And I definitely have some consulting work this summer. Doing some work in my real job, and then taking a trip with my daughter to Italy, which is going to be great.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited. Oh,
we're going actually on a school trip. So I'm supervising a group of teenagers, but I love that. So it'll be fun.
You're going to have so much fun. I have not been to Italy. Our daughter Katie went when she lived in Europe and said it was one of her favorite places ever. I had a thought and now I'm losing it. Oh, I wanted to mention we're in June. So yes. I wanted to say a quick hello to friends down in Texas because June 10th, 11th, I'll be there at the Texas Association of Secondary School Principals summer conference, and I'm going to be doing some breakouts there. So if you're going to be in Texas at that conference, please look me up. I would love to say hello, shake your hand, go to coffee, any of those things that could happen. And Jen, by the time this recording comes out, I think I'll also have wrapped up some work in the beautiful state of Ohio where you live, because I'll be up there visiting some schools. And so I'm keeping a pretty short list this summer, though. I'm trying to take off the entire month of July and just not do training, consulting, etc. Sometimes I have to make an exception if something comes up, but normally that's my block. So, I want to tell listeners what I'd like to talk about with this Monday Matters, because you wrote a post recently in your Principal Problems newsletter, and you ask a question that I'd never thought about asking before. So can you kind of set the stage for this conversation?
Absolutely. I just stumbled across this question on, some social media channel, and it was a meme or a quote. I don't know even what you call it, but it was something that really did make me stop and think. And here's the question. If every person in the world wrote down their problems and everybody put their problems in a hat, would you risk grabbing someone else's, or would you keep yours? Mm. And I thought this was extremely powerful, because it's easy to walk around the world thinking, wow, this whatever I'm carrying is so heavy and I don't know if I can do this, and the world is picking on me and I feel like I've had more than my fair share. But when you think about that, would you risk that? I know when I thought about this pretty deeply, I thought two things. One, you really never do know what's happening behind someone else's front door with their finances, with their relationships, with their jobs, with their family stories, whatever. We have no idea what's going on. And so it's difficult to assume that we have it worse or that our problems are insurmountable, because it could be that everybody's feeling that way, right? And then the second thing that I thought about is more along the lines of my problems are mine, right? Mm-hmm. I know them. I know how I got to them. I know the resources and the people that I have around me to help me navigate them. And so to me, it was a kind of a reverse exercise in gratitude, I got there a different way than typical gratitude musings. I got there because I was thinking, even with my problems, they're mine. And so I think I'll keep them. I'm grateful that they're not worse. I know there's a lot of people out there, who are even living in situations that are extremely difficult. So I think I'm going to keep mine. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think?
Oh my, well, Jen, it was such a interesting thought experiment because when I considered that question, when I read your newsletter, I was like, wow, I haven't asked that question either. And I immediately began to think about people I know, and I won't name any names, but a family I know whose child has cancer, a friend I know whose father just died recently, a family I know who lost their grandbaby, another person I know who's experiencing broken relationships. And I started thinking about how everyone we know has some battle. And what that posted for me was it was just such a good reminder that we sometimes look at people, and I think we do this a lot with social media, but we probably do it in our workplaces too, and in other relationships, and we kind of think, boy, they've got it all together, or man, they've got a good life, or man, I wish I had fill in the blank. And the truth is, when you get into the minds and the lives of just about anyone, they're going to have some experience that you wish you wouldn't have had to carry. And so that's such a unique perspective, Jen. It also made me think about this quote that I've heard Todd Whitaker say before too, and I've heard other educators say it too, but I just remember Todd in particular saying once that educators make a really big mistake when we say to students, well, wait till you experience real life. Because guess what? They already are. And some of them may have actually been experiencing real life in a way that you would never want to experience. And so I think sometimes it's a check on our own pride or ego, or maybe a need to return to humility, or maybe just the need to have perspective again, which is what you called this post, a perspective check,
Right.
to just revisit those kinds of thoughts.
Well, and it really spoke to me, this quote. Excuse me. It really spoke to me because many times as principals, we get fatigue with things like, that one toxic staff member, or that one relentless parent, or gosh, I don't know, sometimes the water main break that breaks every year when it freezes. It could be anything, but these recurring problems that occur, or big problems that surprise us. Again, as a leader, it's really easy to feel like we've got it worse. And here's when I learned that. I worked in a middle school years and years ago, and I really felt misunderstood. I felt like nobody in the entire district understood how tough my school was. We had unique problems, right? Nobody understood that, we had this percentage of EL students. We had this percentage of IEP students. We had, some fights. We had poor facilities, and nobody understood. And all these other schools, must be nice, I kept thinking. Then I switched schools. And I was like, oh, very different problems. My problems certainly didn't come with me, but very different problems. A very heightened parent group, extremely high expectations, a more veteran, tired staff, discipline problems that were very, very different. And I thought, gosh, nobody understands how hard it is. I wish people understood how unique these problems are, and nobody's helping. And so I had since then I've been in 4 total schools, and every time I thought, man, how come nobody understands how hard it is here?
Yeah. I'm laughing because,
Right.
in the work that we do, Jen, now that you and I get to work with so many different leaders in schools, we get to run the gamut of public, private, charter, rural, suburban, urban. I have connected with and done some conversations with principals in international settings, although I've not actually gone and worked in those settings. Well, except once I visited a school in China when I was there, but I wasn't doing any coaching. And across the board, whenever I'm doing coaching or PD, or I have a long enough a relationship with people in those groups, I'll hear them say things, and I hope I'm not stepping on toes, but I'm just going to say it. I'll hear them say things like, well, if I was in this setting, and they'll name the other setting, then I don't think I'd have that problem. And I just, every single time I say, thinking in my mind, you are naming the thing you're dealing with right now. I just talked to someone from that other setting who's dealing with the same thing right now.
Right.
Or
Right.
they're dealing with another situation that you wouldn't want to own if you were in that situation. And I'm just saying that out loud, Jim, because I've been guilty of that too, of thinking either the pasture's greener over there or their problems aren't nearly as hard as mine. And the truth is, human experience is pretty similar. I'm not suggesting some places aren't healthier or toxic than others, because there are some places that if I was to advise a person based on how toxic or dangerous or unsafe it would be, I would say run. But then there's other places where maybe you just need a perspective check on that when it comes to the reality that all of us deal with really hard problems every day, no matter what setting we're in.
Well, and one of the things I talk about often when I work with groups of principals is this. It's a truism, right? All high school teachers really wish those middle school teachers would do something, right? Wish they'd really prepare them for high school. Every middle school teacher really wishes those elementary teachers did something. Elementary teachers are like, can we please have something from the preschool? And then when you break it down, seventh grade teachers are like, what are those sixth grade teachers doing? They don't even teach. What's happening? These kids don't have these skills. Sixth grade teachers think that of fifth grade teachers, and so on. And I always point out that when you have a 10th grader who goes into algebra 2 or geometry or whatever, and let's say geometry, and the teacher says, you guys, didn't you learn this last year? And the kids are like, nope, didn't learn it last year. And the teacher's instantly like, God, those teachers, what are they not doing? Well, let me tell you, they did teach it last year, but kids are smart and they know that, well, first of all, they may have forgotten it. Life happens with kids, right? But they also know that if we say, nope, never learned it, that will derail that teacher. And the teacher's like, fine, we have to go back and we have to learn about angles again or whatever. And so we have to stop looking up and down and think, A, somebody else has it better in the teaching and leading scenario, and B, that other people aren't doing their jobs. Because I think they are. I think any kind of work we do with students and with teachers is going to be fluid. People are like sieves. A lot falls out.
Yeah.
A lot of the learning. And so it's not only about perspective, but about cutting others a break too.
Jen, I know I did not plan to ask you this question in today's post, but I'm going to throw it out anyway, because you know how it is when we're talking. But I'm not sure I've ever brought this up in a podcast. But I think sometimes we run the risk, because I'm thinking back even in my own practice as a teacher and a principal, we run the risk of trying to unify our own initiatives or maybe even our own teams around a common enemy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Instead of figuring out, well, how can we actually unify around a common goal? And so sometimes I think those tensions, those complaints, those criticisms that you're explaining, we've all been guilty of, because it's just easier to say, well, if they understood or they did things differently, then we would, fill in the blank. And so that's a real, I think, challenge among schools. It's not just been my practice, I think, where I've seen that challenge. What are you thinking?
Well, what you're talking about is collective efficacy. And here's what I mean by that. Mm-hmm. Any relationship, I've done research on this, actually, not research, I've done reading on relationships. Any relationship, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a long-term partnership, whether it's teacher to student, whether it's principal to teacher, every relationship needs a project. So by way of example, a marriage, many times the project is children. And that's a built-in project for, 18, 20, 25 years. With a school, and so let me go back. When that project is no longer there, people can turn on each other because they don't have a shared goal, right? And so in a marriage, when the kids leave, you better have another project. You better want a tandem bike, or you better want to hike, or you better want to travel, or you have to have a project. And that exact same thing happens in a school. You need a shared goal, a project. And it's built in because every year we get a new project with a new influx of students. But if we don't have kind of shared vision on how we're going to complete that project, then we start turning on each other. And that's where you get really unhealthy cultures in schools. And so to kind of circle it back, I want to hear your thoughts on that, but to circle it back to the original question about, Would you trade your problems? I think you nailed it, Will. We have control over that in some ways. In terms of the school setting, we have control over the problems and the project and how we're going to meet any of our goals.
Wow, Jen, you just opened up my mind to some even deeper conversations. And I'm watching the clock because I know you now will wrap this up soon, but I'm just going to go down this road for a few minutes. When we have collective efficacy around common goals, then obviously we know, you've looked at the studies, that student learning happens, but that, as you just said, works in relationships too. And I was just thinking about that collective sense of purpose works individually, but it also works in groups. Allie Phelps, who was a guest recently on our show, is an administrator from the state of Alabama, and she did her research around educator wellness, specifically school leaders' wellness. And I gave her a list of extraordinary principles from across the U.S. when I met her more than a year ago, and she included many of them in her studies. And so when we followed up on our show, Jen, she had interviewed a lot of them, and she found common themes among principals who were still in the work, that were still feeling effective and sustainable and still felt healthy. And I'm just going to mention the three things she brought out in that research, because one of them is saying exactly what you're saying. The first one was a strong commitment to physical fitness and health. The second one was a really strong commitment to boundaries, so that I keep my life and my work as separate as I can when necessary. And the third one was a strong commitment to their mission, whatever their mission and their vision, like staying really connected to the why of that thing that keeps them showing up and working. And so that keeps you centered when it comes to the work that you're doing. Mm-hmm. But we have this dilemma, I think, in culture and in politics. I know it's not just American, but this is where we live, where we tend to like unify around the thing we hate, or unify around the thing we're upset about, or unify around what we're outraged about. But there's just nothing productive that comes from that. There may be productive resistance, but that doesn't mean there's productive outcome, because there has to be a solution. It can't just be the problem that you're upset about. And so, man, Jen, what a full circle of conversation that one question started, which is if every person in the world wrote down their problems and put them in a hat, would you risk grabbing someone else's, or would you keep yours? I never thought that one question would take me down this many pathways, but it really has. So thank you for bringing that to listeners. What other thoughts do you want to add?
Yeah, I would just close with, let's put that quote on schools. If you put your school's problems in a hat, would you, and everybody else's, would you take your school's problems? And I bet a lot of listeners would say, yes, I'll take mine. And here's why. Because we have control over those. We can influence those. We have the tools, the strategy, the knowledge. Now, some listeners are probably like, heck no, I'll trade mine in. But for the most part, I think we'll keep ours. I think a lot of people feel that at least I know them and I know how I can make a difference and how I can solve them.
Yeah. Well, Jen, I'll add this closing thought too, because someone is probably listening right now that was like, man, Will or Jen, if you knew my problem, you would not be so whatever you're being right now, optimistic about my problems. So I do want to speak to that person who may be hurting, or that person who may just really be feeling like they're drowning, or feeling like you're like, how am I ever going to get through this? And I just want to say to you that, and I'm not trying to wave a magic wand here. I just want to say this out loud, because I think this has been our experience, Jen. We're at that age now where we've had some hard knocks. Those really, really difficult things that you're managing right now, as ugly and hard as they are, you don't know it right now, but they are actually shaping you, preparing you, maybe even building skills and muscles in you that you're going to be using later to help somebody else walk through something really hard. Mm-hmm. That doesn't help because when you can't see that in the moment, it doesn't help. But I just want to say it, because what I've discovered about so many people listening to the show, especially leaders, is those hard things you help other people through. Those difficult nights, those nights you lose sleep because you're just helping manage somebody's really, really difficult crisis or trauma. They are hard. They're hard to carry. But they're also, man, you're a gift. If you your ability to be able to walk through that with someone means you're going to be gifted to do it the next time with probably more grace than you are this time. And so I don't know, Jen, I just don't think people say that enough to leaders. So I want to say that out loud too, because that perspective, it doesn't necessarily make things better, but it may be making you stronger.
Exactly. And gratitude always makes everything better if you can dig deep. And I agree with you. A lot of people are hurting. A lot of people feel like I can't, overcome what I'm facing. Gratitude can help at least. So find just even one thing, even if it's your warm cup of coffee in the morning.
That's right.
To make you feel good.
Well, neither Jen nor I are therapists. So if you, so I tell people sometimes reach out to me if you want to reflect or talk, and I am sincere. But that's if you want to reflect or talk with just a friend who can help you think through pros and cons and ask you coaching questions. If you need something deeper than that, then please reach out to somebody who's licensed to do that.
Right.
But I do want to say, if man, you're just kind of wrestling with that end of the year, those end of the year thoughts, or those thoughts you're taking into summer, and you would like to connect and just have some time to reflect with a friend, Jen, I know that either you or I love to do that, and we do that often with people. So how can our friends stay connected with you and find your wonderful newsletter?
Yep, they can email me, go to my website at jenschwanke.com, and there's a form they can email me, or subscribe to my newsletter at Principal Problems right on that website.
Do it today, and you're going to be like me, waiting every Tuesday.
It's every Tuesday morning.
Every Tuesday. I'm like, there it is, and I read it immediately. So thank you, Jen, for that. And Principal Matters listeners, thank you for listening. We hope you have a wonderful week, and until next time, thanks for doing what matters. Find free resources like this one at williamdparker.com. Subscribe for our free weekly newsletter, which contains bonus material, and also check out the links for Grow Academy's masterminds, executive coaching, and keynote presentations for my books, as well as for Principal Matters Associates. You can find out more under our speakers tab at williamdparker.com. Thank you for learning together, and thank you for doing what matters.
Monday Matters.